What's up, and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm going to give you my thoughts on Rings of Power, Season 2, Episode 5. This is on Amazon. It has audio description, and I guess since I usually leave audio description to the end, I'll say that one of the things that I've noticed, and I've heard other people joke about this before because it's really hard to understand what his name is, but even the narrator on this really has a hard time. It does kind of make it interesting and entertaining because you have all these names that are just sort of like outside the real world, and then you have Kevin, and that's not what his name is. It's like Kemen, or Kemen. I think it's with an M, Kevin, but it keeps coming out as Kevin. Like it's when the audio description, like I always hear Kevin, or maybe my ears want to hear Kevin, but whatever his like actual stupid real name is, it always comes out Kevin. And the funny thing is that I've heard other people joking about it too. So I don't think it's just in the audio description narration. I think it's like in everything. I think it's just the way other people say his name. I think it was just this is like more like on the writers. But it's funny because I noticed it even in the audio description. Like, I was like, even the audio description sounds like people are saying Kevin. Like, whatever asinine thing that they tried to do with his name and create here, where they were like, well, what if it wasn't Kevin? What if we swapped the V for an M? Kevin. Well, no, it's not working because everybody just keeps hearing Kevin and laughing about it. Because it sounds like Kevin is in the middle of this universe where everyone else has these crazy Galadriel and Elrond and Kevin. It's just cool. I guess we do have Tom. We do have Tom Bombadil. That's a normal name, Tom. So I mean, there are some names here that are not completely out of the realm, but for the most part, you know, Nori and stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of these names just have no. There aren't a whole bunch of like people running around with these names out there in the world right now. So, although I do think definitely there are people who are Middle Earth fans who have named their kids like Aragon before. I'm positive that there has to be like a couple of those out there in the world. Samwise. I'm sure there's a Samwise instead of a Samuel. I'm sure there's a kid named Sam who everybody just assumes it's Samuel, but it's Samwise. He just doesn't want people to know. Yeah, I think so. So that's out of the way. Audio description, yeah, it was fine. I actually think this is like really well produced audio description. Amazon is going out of their way. They're also touting that the ratings are up for season 2. So that's good for them because the show's expensive as hell. Remember, they bought the rights. So they now have the rights to make Tolkien product, which is why there's a upcoming animated Lord of the Rings as well film about something. I don't know. I don't know. I know it's coming. I've read all the books. I'm not that big of a Tolkien. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a hardcore Tolkien fan. I'm a hard enough that I've read all the books and I've seen everything thus far. But Middle Earth is not my life. It's fun. I like being here. This episode didn't quite work for me. Luckily I had Durin and the Dwarves, and they're my happy place in the show. I do actually, they are my favorite thing. I would watch an entire spinoff with their world, just like, what are they doing? I don't know if it's because of the Scottish accents, and they're always like, always feels like they're arguing with each other, even when they're like having like nice moments, like when he's just with his wife and they're trying to be nice to each other. It still feels like they're in an argument of some kind. Like they're always slightly, I love you, of course I do. Yeah. Why would you think anything else? Like, it always feels like they're arguing. It's just, I always find it so entertaining. And I think those performances are really good too. I think probably out of the episode, the actress who plays Durin's wife, Durin Jr.'s wife, the prince. Is she a princess? How does this kingdom work? I don't know. Anyway, because he's the son of the king and she's married to him. So, I mean, like theoretically, that would make her a princess, but nobody ever calls her that. So nobody ever calls him a prince. Um, Whatever. But I thought she gave a great performance as she kept warning him about the rings, and it's like she knows. You know what I'm saying? Like she knows. She's figured it out. She's like, no, those rings are not good. They're not good. We also went more into the forgery this episode, and some people are losing their absolute shit over it because this is like not the way that the rings are forged. And so people who are Lord of the Rings purists are upset. And basically, this is fan fiction, like the Rings of Power. They're just kind of doing whatever they want, which is okay. It's definitely going to alienate fans, which is weird because it's like the one thing you don't want to alienate is fans. Like generally, people like everything is usually we talk about fan service a lot, and doing it that way. But also at the same time, a show like this would allow for people who are not fans and who haven't necessarily read all the books to be able to jump in. And I think I would always make a case for not everything needs to be adapted 100% as is, because I've seen some really interesting choices made out of things where I'm like, well, I read the book and I also saw the movie and I understand why that was changed. Or just some really interesting swaps that make it interesting so that don't really affect, that didn't really change much and maybe even change things for the better, you know, that have been swapped around or changed. But then again, I also see those same things. It's like every time you take it, you make you're taking a risk whenever you decide I'm not going to go with what was written before. What I think is better than what was originally written, I'm going to go out on a limb. Great, you're going on a limb, but your limb might suck. And there are things out there that I've definitely seen where I'm like, well, that was shit. I would say like the Divergent sequels suck because it feels like nobody ever read the book. I really hated I hate the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Taskmaster. I feel like it's nothing like the comics, and I wanted Taskmaster to have more fun than that. The Taskmaster I was always familiar with, I felt like was always having a little bit more fun. This was like kind of like a straight up character. And then I just think Olga Kurylenko is such a weird actress to put in that role. I mean, Florence Pugh's having more fun in her role. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, nothing about that worked for me. And it's that could it have been gender bend? I suppose with the right person, you know, but you just kind of made a case as to why not to do it instead. It didn't work for me. But then there are other things where like I've seen changes made where I'm like, I totally understand why you did that. Hunger Games being PG-13, I don't think if they had done the absolute book translation of what the dogs were supposed to look like, probably would have been fucking terrifying. So instead of doing the literal book translation of what they just kind of made like big wolves that are chasing them down. Instead of this like half wolf, half dead tribute hybrid that they are in the book, where it's like the faces of the tributes that have been killed, and it's nuts. Just it's one of those things that when you read it in the book, you're like, this won't make it in the movie. This is not gonna happen. And then when you're like, oh, PG-13, yeah, definitely not. Maybe in like Nightmare Fuel, that an R-rated Hunger Games, sure. I feel like if you give Hunger Games to like Ari Aster, he's like, I'm making that happen. We're doing it. But yeah, no, not for a wide audience. So yeah, you can make changes, but you're gonna have divisive results. Like some people are gonna be like no, and other people are gonna be like, I like the change, or I didn't notice the changes because I'm not really a fan. So it just in a short window of time, I've noticed that people are reacting to the way that they've changed the way the rings are being forged, and just the visceral reaction people are having to that is like hardcore fans not on board. I don't know that it's smart to piss them off. That would be my thought. I don't know. The rest of it work. I don't know. There was that stuff with Kevin. It's, I didn't care about any of that. We have underdeveloped those characters, and every time we cut over there with whatever that world is, the land, I no, I didn't care. The ending was sort of interesting with Galadriel being brought in, and then the orc king is like, "Oh, I want to work with you." She's like, "Why am I in a cage?" She's just sitting there thinking, like, "Wait a minute, what? You want to what?" Like, I mean, it's interesting, and it's a great place to leave the episode. But yeah, this episode didn't quite work for me as well as some of the others, but it did have dwarves in it, and that is always. Um, I I hope this is not offensive to like uh, people with actual dwarfism, because uh, I don't mean to say that I enjoy that because they're short. I really think it's the Scottish accents that they all seem to have, um, and I do think that the way that their world is written and their characters are shaped, that there's something there. Like I get their vibe. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I pick up what their vibe is, and I love it. I just love that vibe that their world gives off. It has nothing to do with them being dwarves or being short. They could be anything, but uh, it's just that world that really works for me. And I don't know why the rest of it is just kind of like mush. The whole ring development thing, I just no, I didn't care. I didn't really care about anything else in this episode, and that was a problem. So yeah, this episode was but it had one great section. Every time we kept going back to it, I was like, oh, and then I thought she did a great job. So I'm gonna give Rings of Power season 2 episode 5 a B. Those are my thoughts. It's okay. We're just sitting here and like, yep, waiting for waiting for that, episode where they spent all of the money they had on that one episode. I feel like it's coming. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys next week with another Rings of Power.